right now the time is 6 a.m. It is a Saturday. Got work in the next 3 hours. Got to be there for 11, but obviously got to get ready. I'm doing this episode quite literally before I go to work. Um, yeah, I mean my day technically started at like what 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. Usually my day starts at like 7:30, 8. Like, am I like a super hardcore, morning person? No, but like, I enjoy my mornings. Not this early though, but I stupidly went to, or lied on my bed, taking a nap, and I guess that nap turned into like a full on sleep, if you will. So it sucked. But I mean, I'm awake, 'cause I'm doing the thing. Um, anyway, so this is the first time I'm really trying this whole like podcast solo thing specifically. So if I'm being spotty in areas or I'm not making sense, please bear with me. um, but yeah, so anyway, running right into it. Um, I've actually changed the what I'm wanting this to be maybe like 4 or 5 times, but the three that I do remember vividly a lot more than the others was, I think I had a title of Theory of All, the other one was called Imagine Thinking, and then another one was Destination Pending, which is Destination Pending was kind of what this one is, but less about emotions. It was more just like feeling like lost in life specifically. But I'll get into these kind of scenarios and like what I was kind of going with each potential category. So the first one that I went with was Imagine Thinking. So the way that my mind works is I tend to think about the obviously content first, and then I think about the end goal, because that's another thing I'm going to talk about in a episode down the road. Because I do know some people, their minds work, in an opposite direction, where they have to think about obviously the end goal first, and then think about things along the way. So an example is like a Lego set. They see the picture, they're like, okay, so this is what it's going to look like, and then follow the instructions. For me, it was just forget how it looked and just from the absolute get go, just build it. And that's kind of a skewed representation, because obviously you have, an instruction booklet manual in front of you. I'm literally doing this on a whim. I'm literally making most of these episodes. Obviously, I consider doing research. Well, I do research, but I guess ultimately what I am wanting this to be is kind of real me, if you will, podcast. I'm just talking about, you know, emotions and, the downfall, not downfall, what's not really downfall, but the, hardships, if you will, but as well as happiness. The good sides and the bad sides of emotions through life, whether that be goals, food, music, literally just everything that we know so far, and even like personal life stuff that I've gone through, like learning how to drive, trying to find, you know, love, trying to, build relationships, family and friends, and, you know, that's being adopted. But, those are all things that I can try and delve deeper down the road. Um, so, uh, life's vendetta. So obviously, life. How we are currently kind of just living in the world, and just, we are all each in our own little bubble. We have our own little life, our own little nook and cranny that, you know, is ours. And then vendetta. So what I mean by vendetta, not by the whole, like, blood feud and, like, you know, um, death, death follows you and all that kind of stuff. my version of Vendetta is on the slightly lighter side. So what I mean by that is more kind of like you know, two sides to one coin, or if you will. There's another way I'd like to try and coin it is you have where there's light, there's always shadow, but also vice versa. Where there's shadow, there's always light. So, like just a generic example is what college or something. You know, some people absolutely enjoy parts of college, but then the absolute other parts are absolutely detested. So someone like me. Um, Another thing is learning how to drive. Basically, just anything in life. But there are also aspects of life that that we can all agree on that are great, and there are almost no bad parts. Not saying there aren't, but sometimes the good parts outweigh the bad parts, but then also the bad parts outweigh the good parts. So it's this whole kind of almost like pendulum kind of like weight system in life. Um, so that's why I coined it Life's Vendetta, because it's truly something that I feel like I can talk about because I'm 25 years old right now, um, and have I by no means am I old, but by no means am I young either. Have I am I going through like an identity crisis? Um, Identity crisis. I don't even know because I've never really gone through an identity crisis. Like, I mean, right now, I just kind of live as many of us do. I, you know, have a roof over my head. I have a car. I, cook food. I have ambitions and life goals such as this, the podcast, and, you know, going on holidays to great countries and tasting food that I've seen on social media. So I'm just living, and I don't really feel like I have an end goal, which is kind of the one thing I guess I'm wanting for this podcast to maybe almost allow me to do is because right now I think I'm just doing this as a kind of experiment, if anything. Because and I did also start a painting company not a while back, like maybe a year, 8 months back, and I enjoyed it, but I purely did it out of obviously necessity of money because I needed to pay for everything that life needs: food, roofing, housing, all this other stuff. So I kind of almost just did that out of necessity, less out of a want and a need. Okay, I did it more of a need, less out of a want. But along the ways, I learned some great skills through starting that painting company. So it was fun. It really was fun. Um, so I mean, obviously, I know my name. I've got, you know, my family. I love them, but there are parts of me that when I wake up, I'm just like, I guess it's just another day ticked out of my life that I'm not ever really gonna get back. And I guess it's a bad way to look at it. It is because obviously you have your own life in your hands. You literally control your life. Yes, that is true. So there are also parts that are almost out of your control entirely, and it's tough. Because I think the one thing I really don't want to happen is what again. I'm 25 right now, and like as you get older, the days and years just fucking fly by. It's ridiculous because what I graduated in 2017, and it was such a fleeting moment. I still remember it vividly to this day. The time I graduated, the date, who I was sitting next to, um, you know, my principal, and when I shook his hand, like it's so vivid, and it sucks, and it's almost terrifying to know how vivid something 7 years ago was, because as of right now, I could be doing this and potentially fast forward 15, 20 years later, I could be like, I remember vividly starting this in my apartment. Whether or not this goes anywhere, we'll see. um, so it'll be interesting to see where this goes. But I guess ultimately, I am afraid of time. Many of us are. Because time truly is fleeting as you get older. Um, so, again, Life Vendetta is more kind of a log, maybe? I guess you could say, call it like a log of emotions and life events through everything. Again, food, places, people, things. Because I feel like we take things for granted as well as we get older. And am I a saint? Am I any better? No, absolutely not. When I was a kid, did I, steal some food? Did I take some money from my parents? Am I like a complete saint? Absolutely not. I mean, like, many of us aren't. I mean, yes, there are people out there who are absolute saints. But, you know, maybe like a newfound Christian or something, or like, what's it, like a reborn Christian or something? Or some shit like that. I don't know. It's something along those lines. Damn, that's some good ass tea. All right, anyway. Time is it? Jesus. It's 6:20 right now. Anyway, going off of that point, the other potential route I was gonna go with this podcast was the title was coined Theory of All. So, Theory of All was this whole theorized thinking of everything, question everything. So what I mean by that is, it was this whole kind of like if, buts, or maybes about the world and how we know it is now. So an example was, if I think a question I had as a potential podcast episode was, oh, I'm drawing a blank now. Oh yeah, so is heaven and hell like a concept or something, or um, something along those lines, or no, is heaven and hell a mental concept or something along those lines? And it was interesting because obviously the way that I did it was I myself am a very non-biased person. I try to see things from both sides, so I would like to say my mind is, neither 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 nor. Is that even a thing? Or oh, either or. Jesus Christ, I was having a brain fart moment there. Either or. So because I picking sides is stressful. It truly is, because then you have to try and pitch why. Um, it's if you're in the middle, people just call you stupid. And you don't have to do anything. Because I very much move in silence. Um, I don't try to advertise what I do much. I mean, obviously, I kind of have to put this out there because I would love to do this full time at some point. Because I would also love to take this podcast around the world and meet people and actually live life. Because right now I am just making money for the man. I am just a little cog in a big machine, and this little cog is mass produced by the millions, well, billions. So it's and then I'm gonna have someone on here say, yeah, but you're special to us. Like, yes, and you're special to people, and I do understand that, but like some skill sets can be mass produced. Your individuality, no, obviously. But when you work for a big, retail company and corporation, most of the time they can care less about your individuality. They just want to know if you're a trainable asset, is really all it is. But going back to the podcasts that I was going to go to, the other episode, Jesus, the other potential title I was going to go with, as well as subject matter, was called Imagine Thinking. So Imagine Thinking was more to do with trying to almost not think, trying to almost just let your mind run free, let your mind, let it think what it wants to think, when it wants to think, and how it wants to think, rather than almost trying to be controlled by people around you, what's going on around you, and things. And it was an interesting take, I will say. Especially trying to do these by yourself, it's difficult because obviously you have to try and find. Because most people, when they talk, you're talking to another person. I'm literally doing this in my apartment, in front of my phone. It's interesting, and trying to find stuff to talk about, especially this whole imagine thinking, or this sort of trying to this whole lack of thinking, was tough, to say the least. Yeah. Anyway, it so that I think that subject and title lasted like 3 days. The theory of all lasted me the longest time. I think of about like 2.5 weeks. But again, I don't want to try and force myself to be someone and something that I'm not, just to try and sound interesting. And like, did I enjoy creating theory of all? And is it still on the back burner? And might I do another podcast or another something down the road that does question everything? I might do. I mean, like, I truly did enjoy it, but I was trying to force myself to do something that I was reluctant to do. So, big emphasis on the reluctant. I wanted to do it. I enjoyed doing it to a degree, but I was reluctant. So, and then the first one I came up with the idea was Destination Pending, which is basically more coined to what I'm currently talking about. So, Destination Pending, destination in life, you don't know. So again, the whole just don't know, it's like this whole pending brain kind of thing. It was an interesting topic to try and figure that out. And I mean, Destination Pending is really the only thing I changed. The subject matter of trying to find your way in life is still kind of what this whole Life's Vendetta is. Because again, like, Life's Vendetta is looking at everything throughout life from both sides of both, the hardships, as well as, the happy and the sad and the good. So it's this whole kind of, looking at it from like both inside the window and outside of the window, if that makes any sense. So Life's Vendetta is probably going to be the route I'm going to be sticking to for the rest of the podcast journey, and then really hoping it will evolve into something bigger and something that I would love to do full time. And what I would also love is to have, whatever you would call a regular person on, or like, I would love to have guests on at some point and hear what they have to say about their life, whether it's, a simple working family man, or if it's someone who is some sort of like bigwig who's out there. I want to hear people's stories and their life, and obviously their hardships, their goals and dreams, and how they got to that, and like if they are living. Because truly, that's what I do want to find out for myself is if I even feel like I belong, to be honest. Because and I, I really don't want to trauma dump. I really do not want to trauma dump. Not even trauma dump, but like just dump emotions at the end of this. But like it's it's been not a difficult few years, an interesting few years for me. I started really kind of questioning what I wanted out of life when I was 18, 19. So pretty much from the start of college up till now, because I'm kind of just doing the bare minimum. I'm doing what people tell me to do. I move in the shadows. I don't try and do too much because obviously, if I'm not compensated for the hard work I do, then I'm not going to try and overexert myself if I'm not seeing the fair compensation for said overexertion. um, it's it's interesting. Um, do I have goals and ambitions? Yes, I guess. Again, the podcast, what I'm doing right now. I guess yeah. This is you know what I'm gonna coin this as my goal. I'd love to do this full time. I'd love to be able to take this and actually live life, go to places, see the world, and you know, I guess feel happy. Am I sad? No. Am I extraordinarily happy? No. Um, am I like an individual who's like, oh, woe me? No, there are billions and billions of people out there who are just like me. And it is what it is. That is the unfortunate part of life. We just kind of sometimes have to grit our teeth, buck up, and get on with the work. And it sucks. It truly does fucking suck. But we got bills to pay. Anyway, I'm cut off here. I appreciate you guys listening. Again, this was like a completely rough slash pilot episode. If there's anything I can brush up on, please let me know. This was more just talking about what this podcast will be and kind of the behind the scenes of what I was working on. I am currently working on I've kind of figured out the logo and all that kind of stuff, and I'm still slowly figuring out like opening or like intro and outro. So I'm slowly working on it behind the scenes. I I've said that so many times. That's another thing that I would like to talk about on the upcoming episode is oh dude, I'm having the brain fart moment again. What's it called? Procrastination. Oh my god. Procrastination. I've been saying this for the past like month, which was only technically supposed to be for a couple days. I'm bad. I suck. How I got through college with like having a deadline with my procrastination, I have no idea. Anyway, I gotta get ready. Start the day, earn some money so I can keep this roof over my head. Come home to some good food. Anyway, I appreciate you guys listening. Again, subscribe, follow on with the journey of Life's Vendetta. If you have anything that you would like to add, please leave a question, comments, and everything along those lines. So, with that said, have a great rest of the day, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.